Welcome to Holdfast.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It is just Erica here again today with another character spotlight. Today we have Ian on the podcast. He plays our friend Dimitri in game. Super excited to talk to him today. Ian, how are you doing?
Hi, Erica. I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be here. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. How's everything treating you? How's isolation, quarantine, all of that?
Well, getting through. It's tough on everyone, but making use of online things like Discord or just games, communicating a lot more with my friends than I normally would, because it's just really important to stay in touch and support each other and do our part by staying at home.
Yeah, I know a lot of the people in the LARP. We've been doing Jackbox games, off and on, so that's been keeping me sane. So yeah, I'm just gonna interview you today a little bit about your character. So I'll mostly just be handing over the torch to you, to kind of, take it away and tell us what you want to tell us. Let's start off though with, when did you get into LARPing and how did you get into LARPing? Kind of tell us a little bit about your start with Epoch.
Okay, I love that story. It starts off a little sad. It gets better.
Okay.
So, basically, my social circle had just more or less imploded. Me and my wife had just separated, and I was going through some issues. And I looked around like, how do I fix this? How do I make myself a better person? Um, and I found a board gaming group, and I joined that. And I found some, they had interest. It was a lot of fun. There was a person there. They play Tyrael. And they mentioned basically about LARP and their church group, and I was like, LARP is, not my cup of tea. It's definitely for the super nerds. So I joined the church group, and it was a really lovely place. And they mentioned LARP a few more times, and they were like, hey, there's a group of people called the Knights. I think you'd get along great with them.
Sorry, can I just stop you for a second? Did you say the church group?
Yes, So I joined a church group, and
And
then
there are LARPers in this church group?
yes, the person who plays Tyrael. Well, it's there's only the church group has since disbanded, unfortunately, but they because I joined this group and liked it so much, I was like, you know what, I was willing to give LARP a shot because they were like, hey, come into my world a little bit. And I said, hey, this is a great place. Okay, I will try LARP on your recommendation.
So it really was not your cup of tea at first.
Oh, 100% no. They kept talking about it, and I'd be like, okay, that's nice. Whose turn
Were
is
you
it
like,
now?
who is this crazy person? What are they?
No, I mean, we're adults. I was 31. We're playing board games in the evening time with people that started off as a bunch of strangers, and it just seemed to be something they're passionate about, and they were really into cosplay and stuff, and it's never something that I've really myself gotten into. I'm like, hey, it's really cool that you can go out and do that, and that's a really good looking costume, but it wasn't my cup of tea. And actually, I wouldn't have joined except there was a period of an entire month when the board game group wasn't going to be meeting up, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? And and Teriel was like, you could try Epoch, and I was like, well, fine. And she said,
So your joining of Epoch was really kind of, I have nothing better to do, and I don't want to stay home, so I'm just going to go camping for a weekend? Is that?
Yes, and even further that, well, I was like, I got to meet him first, and she told me about meet and greet, so I showed up, and there's the player who plays Hugo, the player who plays Bronze, the one who's moving to BC.
Oh, Boren.
Boren, there we are. Because I haven't actually met Boren in game, and there's a player who plays Taka, and the three of them sat down, they talked, and they were telling all these stories, but it didn't really sound my thing still. And I was like, okay, I can see they really enjoy this. And Hugo basically looks at me and goes, "Do you like camping?" I love camping. He's like, "Okay, do you like D&D?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like D&D." He's like, "Do you want to camp and kind of D&D for a weekend?" When you put it that way, yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy because I feel like you showed up and you were someone that was sort of like instantly into it. And I thought you kind of, because I guess you knew a few people there, but you kind of showed up like by yourself, which is, a
Oh,
pretty big sign of like commitment to wanting to, live action role play. So that's really surprising.
oh no, I didn't know anyone there. My friend, like the friend who played Tyrael, wasn't there my first game. In fact, I think they had only showed up to one of the four games I made it to. Um, Back in high school, a friend of well, I ended up running in a similar circle as the player who plays the elf who's convinced they're not an elf.
Oh, I don't know who that is. Elf that's,
Um,
is that Lexicus? No.
uh, Timian's real world fiance.
Oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. She's gonna kill me. I like, I keep thinking of her real. I know who you're talking about, though. Continue.
Um, I so like my best friend was like good friends with her and her entire social circle, and I meshed with them for a couple of months here and there. So knew her name, but other than I think maybe two or three craft afternoons I'd shown up to, and I hadn't really hit it off with anyone at that point. So I was I was so nervous. I showed up for my first game a week early on accident. I drove into the
No.
site, and there was a bunch of Girl Scouts there, and and I'm like, oh no, I'm in the wrong place. Um, and these two adults, the girl. I don't know. The chaperones basically walk over to like, "Hello, strange man. Why are you here in this Girl
Yes.
Scout camp?" And
Please leave.
yeah, I was like, I'm looking for my friends. I'm obviously very lost. At which point, when I messaged, someone was like, "Yeah, that's next week," and I was like, "Oh yeah, haha, of course, I knew that." Um,
Oh my gosh.
so
I
I
had no
was,
idea.
yeah, no, I was not in a like I didn't know that many people. I didn't really know who to talk to. I was just trying to try things out, and I stumbled every step of the way.
Well, you did eventually end up making it on the right day, the right time. When was your first game? What month did you start? I think last year, season 2019, was your first season, correct?
Yes, I started July, which I think the game was the first bite, is what it was called. Um, that was that was an interesting game. I didn't know what LARP was. I showed up. I had a lot of preconceptions, as most people would, and then I stayed up till like 1:30 a.m. fighting dread splicers or doll faces, as a lot of people call them. And I was like,
So
what? Hmm?
I have to ask, and we'll get back into the story about the dread splicers because I'm dying to hear it because I don't even know what that is. Um, but so you showed up kind of unsure that LARP was your thing. How were your first moments in game, and when did you say, "Oh, I'm definitely coming back"?
Um, my first moments in game were just it was weird. Everyone basically looked at me and they're like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I am Dimitri." And they're like, "Oh, why are you here?" And I was like, guys, come on. I don't have this much worked out yet. Give me a break."
There's literally nowhere else in world for me to exist right now, so it kind of has to be here.
Yeah, so I got told to like run away. I got told I should leave this place. The town's full of crazy people. Every person I talked to was like, "Hopepass is a terrible place. Why are you here?" And I didn't have an answer yet because I was still so new to the world.
Oh my gosh.
Um, ooh, what was the other part of that question?
When did you realize that you wanted to come back again for a second game? Like, when did you say, okay, this is my cup of tea, I would come back to this?
Yes, that was exactly the third night after game. So it would have been Wednesday morning when I had, for the third consecutive night, LARP dreams and went, oh shit, I'm hooked.
So let's get a little bit back into the Dread Splicers and just like your first game in general, like, bring us through it. What happened at your first game?
Okay, so, well, Dread Splices is the proper name, and I know this because I this is a character path that I'm interested in, Dimitri, and also I've talked to Rob. They're commonly known as doll faces.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All right, gotcha.
yes, it's like the in-game player name for them. Um, Basically, I showed up. There was like a shadow creature that was around. There was a chimera. But like the big thing of that night was the doll faces. And someone went like, "Hey, Dimitri, doll faces don't really move. You should go check them out now. There's one in the bunkhouse." I went, "Oh, okay, great. I'll go check out this thing in a supposedly safe environment." No, that didn't work out well. The doll faces were moving. They were summoning spiders. Apparently, that was new to everyone. But as far as I knew, someone sent me in there to die. Because I was like,
We're
"Hey,
so
little,
welcoming.
yeah, hey, little spider creature," and it goes 4 mauling bypass. And I'm a brand new 40-point character. I have 5 HP. I was like, I I need to run.
You're pretty much dead at that point.
Yes. And that just then the entire fight dragged on. And like we had downed them, and then through an interesting process, they got resurrected. So we fought them a second time, and I didn't know how to like bless our staff or our cast because they are so committed. I'm looking at these. They're lying on the ground for like 40 minutes, and I come over and I'm like, "Are you cold? Do you need like a blanket or do you need some water or anything?" And they just look at me. "No, I'm doing fine." I'm like, "Oh, okay." It walked away. Uh, and like I said, we by the time we downed them the second time, it was around 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, "What? LARP is supposed to be for nerds, and like they shouldn't have like what kind of endurance is this? Like I have some like training outside of all this. I can keep up, but I'm not expecting your average Joe to like rock like just rock it this hard for so long." And it's passion. Like everyone that we play with is so passionate, and it just fuels them like some kind of superhuman energy. It's nuts.
I know not only do we have players who they like literally Tony is a fitness trainer. I know we have a lot of people that are they have a lot of hobbies outside of game that involve fitness and they're very fit people. We all know that Rob's pecs cast a shadow. That's now a fact. But it's true. Like I'm not a very like athletic person, but when I show up to game, it's just the adrenaline will keep you going for 3 days alone. So that's where a lot of that endurance comes in. But Cass is also just so committed.
They
Sometimes
are.
I see Cass bolting through the woods and I'm like, how are they not scared they're going to get like a twig or like a branch in their eye or hurt themselves? And they are scared of that, but they're just very committed to the moment. And I always say we're like super lucky to have the staff that we do.
100%.
So we've talked a little bit about your character. You play Dimitri. Can you tell us a little bit about him? Sort of who is Dimitri and how did you come up with the idea for the character?
Thanks. I love Dimitri. I've been playing
Me too.
I've been playing D&D and other RPGs for so long, and I've done the edgy story or the tragic hero, and I was like, who I haven't done? I haven't done like Joe Blow, just that random farmer guy who got pulled into adventuring life. Um, and I wanted to try it one time. It was going to be my next D&D character, but then I got into LARP, so I thought of all the interesting characters that I know of from the books I've read, and I settled on Carmen Majir as, we'll say, a template. Uh, like just a large man, very friendly. And I was like, okay, this is where we're going to go. How did Dimitri come to be? And I started developing his family a lot.
What book is
His
that from?
Oh, sorry, yes, Carmen Majir is from the Dragonlance, well, the original Dragonlance trilogy. I know he comes into a lot of other books, but that is it's a highly recommended fantasy read. There's a lot of fantasy and magic and other systems that are kind of based off of that, and that was I think that's basically the trilogy that started off the entire series of Dragonlance.
Okay.
Uh, so I wanted to. Or I explored what his family was like, and I decided, you know what, his dad's the retired adventurer. He's the gritty, kind of edgy guy. And then what did he do? Well, he settled down. He started a life. He started a farm. Um, Okay, then why is Dimitri the way he is if his father's so gritty and edgy? Well, you know what every adventure character needs? They need a reboot. They need round two, a sequel. So I was like, you know what? Dimitri's mom dies when he's young. This is in-game knowledge for anyone who's actually talked to him about it. So his father then calls in his trusty NPC buddy, his old like battle aide from game one, and he says, "Watch my kids." And he goes off for 9 to 12 months on his next adventure. Dimitri has no idea what the heck happened, but his father eventually comes back. But he's been being raised by this man and calling this other man his dad now for the last year or so. And maybe his father has uh, like trouble sleeping or whatever, and his trusted companion, he stays with the family and he takes care of them and the family, and he's the positive, the I'm going to be your friend, I'm going to make things better influence that Dimitri really picks up on. So he gets some of his core values from his father, but how his personality has developed has really come down from his dad, or the character I invented for his dad. So I kind of made two characters and then said who would be like what would a child look like if they were raised by these two people, and that's how I created Dimitri.
That's so thoughtful. I love that. What tell the audience a little bit about Dimitri. If you were to describe him to anybody, what characteristics would you use?
All right. Dimitri is a friendly character, and I guess that's really as simple as that sounds. That's what it comes down to. He likes people. He understands that everyone's different, and he's not quick to judge. But if you need help, he's going to be there and support you. If he feels you're
Very
doing
good.
something, if he feels you're doing something wrong, he'll tell you that, and he'll advise against. But unless it's something that is like will go evil with big air quotes, or like, hey, this is going to hurt people, I need to stop you, he's not going to get in your way. He might advise against it. He might say, well, maybe you know better. I'm not you. I don't know. And a bit of that is actually what comes from Carmen, who is this perceived as a slow warrior. But as you go through the series, you kind of realize that it's not that he's slow, it's that he just takes time to contemplate things from other people's perspectives and what they are probably feeling. And that's who I wanted to be as Dimitri, this helpful character. It also really helps you survive when you're going to LARP and you don't really know anyone. You're just going to be a friendly guy that everyone likes and wants to keep alive.
For real. Doesn't help to go the other way.
Yeah, no, that would be challenging.
So has Dimitri, and you started in July 2019, so I think you mentioned you went to 4 games?
Yes.
So how has Dimitri developed in that time, from when you were sort of inventing the character to how you would portray him today? Has he developed at all? Has he changed? Anything like that?
Well, yes, there's been like probably at least one significant change and a few smaller ones. Um, Me as a player, like Ian, I came to the Epoch world and I didn't know the politics of the game. I didn't know the people, and I didn't want to, I don't want to run up and be like, "Oh, don't sacrifice that rabbit." And someone goes like, "This is I've been working for this ritual for a year. This it had to be at noon on this day. I can't. You've ruined my work." Uh, I didn't want to like just fumble into people's games and cause them misfortune. So both Ian and Dimitri kind of just, hey, they know what they're doing. And that's the big attitude I took for the first 2 games, right up into the point of the, I think it's called the Pendergast mod, when we had to go save Lady Keegan. And we get up in the morning, and the sun's up. We were supposed to, just for a little context, we had all agreed the night before, if we set out now, we will be leaving the town kind of defenseless for the night. It could be attacked, and it could be bad, because we won't be here. If we set out at first light, so aka like 5:30 a.m., something like that, we'll make it in time. Okay, we all agree. We go to bed at the end of the night. I wake up and the sun's already up, and I'm like, oh no, I missed it. Oh well, I'll never catch them now. Go back to sleep. And then I wake up because I hear voices that of people that should be gone by now. And you know what? It turns out just everyone slept in. uh, so then we eventually gather everyone together and we set off to save Keegan. It's going to be great. And we go up to Sharon, our AD, and we're like, "Yep, we're on our way. Like we've already walked up the trail. We're walking back into the town, or out of game. Um, tell us how this goes down." And Sharon just looks at us all and goes, "Do you know? Do you know what time it is?" And we're like, "Well, it's about 10:30. Do you know how long it takes you to get there?" "Oh, I don't know. 2 hours, let's just say." "And what was the deadline?" It was noon." "Yeah, give me a minute." So I'm standing back there and I'm going, "Oh my goodness, there's consequences to actions. This is delightful." And then we miss it. Lady Kika, who was one of our most powerful medics, who that game we suffered in the night fights because we didn't have her powers, her abilities to aid us throughout that evening, and we really struggled on the combating front because it was so difficult to get people back up, and we slept in and let her be whisked away, and I was like, oh my goodness, maybe maybe this isn't a town of ooh. Quick segue. The first game we played, uh, my goodness, we were fighting Godo's goons. That was the time that they all came in, and the bards were buffing the medics and the smiths, and it was this conveyor line, and it was like your body get tossed in, someone would rip armor off you. Well, not rip it off you, but they take it off you, and it was just very efficient, very well managed. And I was like, man, this is a town of strategists, and like these people know exactly what's on the go. This is impressive.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh so loud, but that is not what's happening in Holdfast.
Well, that was my first impression of Holdfast. Also, on a slightly related note, when the Godo's goons first showed up, I looked over and I said, "Hey, there's some guy who's about my age. He looks like pretty fit. Like I'm gonna fight him." And I just kept fighting this one guy with his big flambridge or bastard sword or something, because I thought he'd be a good challenge. And you know what? He won every time because I was a 40-point character and he was pretty athletic. And um, yeah, it turns out maybe as a 40-point character, don't pick out Rob in every fight and go fight him because he's going to beat you.
As a 40-point character and a 200-point character, run from Rob at any chance you get.
Yes. So that was my first impression of the town. And then I see the other side, the side that's more human and makes mistakes. And I realized, like both as Ian and Dimitri, as Ian, I now know enough of the world that I can kind of, step into some of these things without risking bumbling it, or at least too badly. And as Dimitri, it's well, maybe I can help. And as the season has further progressed, I realized like Dimitri's working towards his goals, and maybe it's not just about becoming stronger so he can live the life that he wants to. Maybe to live the life that he wants to, he needs to learn how to lead or inspire people. People like Father Francis, that was just a spiritual pillar to the community. People came to him and they would talk and leave feeling fulfilled. Dagger and Brightforge would rally troops. It didn't matter what needed to be done; people would follow that man. There was just so many inspiring characters. Or Lady Val, like, just commands such a presence that Dimitri's looking around. He goes like, "Well, maybe I can grow in these areas too," and thus started Dimitri's political career and my online or my IG and OOG campaigning, which was originally just kind of a joke at starts because I'm like, "Who's gonna vote for Dimitri?" And people are like, "No, I'd vote for you, Dimitri," and I'm like, "Really? Oh, okay." So yeah, that's more or less how we started, from a character that didn't want to kind of step on too many toes to he's moved his way in. And I think for the most part I've done it without without like bumping too many shoulders. Like I've stepped into a few plot lines, or I've helped people out, and I think it's been a good thing. I know I've really enjoyed it all, and it's so much fun. It's so much more fun being involved with other people's storylines, and like not being the main character, just helping them or watching it unfold. You get so many stories and so many good moments, and I think that's what really makes LARPs much better than doing your own thing or all the time, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Dimitri is like beloved. We all love Dimitri. So it's definitely worked out for you, I think, sort of taking that route. I'm gonna have to get on the forums and take a look at some of your campaigning though, because I haven't been on the forums in a long time, so I'm gonna have to go see what's going on with it. On that note, on all the positive, good moments that Dimitri has had and how he's developed, what have been some of your character's best moments?
Oh, I the best moments have been like wonderful victories and crushing defeats. Uh, my absolute favorite one. So I started the game off, and I wasn't comfortable as like Ian as a person. I wasn't comfortable being hugged, but I was totally fine with all sorts of other physical RP. Um, and one of Dimitri's potential love interests comes running up to him one game. And there had been this big conflict earlier, and Dimitri had stood up for them, and they just run up and give me this huge hug. And I could see it in my mind, like I need to pick this person up and hug them and maybe do a little spin or something, and it's gonna be this wonderful moment, and my brain just goes, and I shut down because I'm like I don't.
Wait. Which character was this?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you one of Dimitri's potential love interest characters on the
Okay.
podcast.
Okay.
You can ask afterwards.
Okay.
Um, so I think it takes me like 2 seconds to like kind of awkwardly put my arms around them and be like, yes, because I'm so into this RP moment. It's everything I want. It's on a golden platter, and I'm not hitting it as Ian. So we talk a little bit, and I go, I got to make this up. Oh, how do I do this? Okay, let's go out and let's look into the night sky. This will be nice. And we go out, and lo and behold, there's a meteor shower happening. So we sit down, and we sit down next to each other, and we watch shooting stars. And it's this magical moment. And I'm like, I gotta make up from earlier. Like I have to recover. I got it. And I look over and I go, what is your second favorite wish? Because don't tell me your favorite. I want that to come true for you. They gave me some like good response. Like they take a moment to think about it and give me some good response, and they go, "And Dimitri, well, what's yours?" And I go, because I hadn't thought of that far. I was so busy trying to recover from my fumble earlier that I then made a second one, and I get this character that runs up. I stood up for them. They're so happy to see me. They like run across the room, jump into my arms, big hug. We watch shooting stars. We talk about wishes. There was actually shooting stars. I will never get that moment back. It doesn't matter how hard I try to recreate it. It's gone. I couldn't creep that in with a golden monkey. And I love it. I love that happened because it was this great moment for Dimitri. It was this like like I'm just watching this. Oh, it was purely wonderful. And whoever's if the player who is I'm talking about listens to it, I'm fine with hugs now. And you know what? It's all fine. I'm very happy with the way things turned out. That would.
I mean, Dimitri, like, I love knowing that your character is just kind of this, like, humble guy from humble beginnings or whatever, because, Dimitri, he's a very good person, but maybe he's not necessarily smooth. So maybe it just didn't,
Oh,
work out that way for the character. So that's you would consider one of your best moments.
well, I mean, really, that was kind of one of my worst moments, but I loved it so much. It's the highs and the lows that I enjoy so much. It's the I have been like I've been talk if I try to talk to like five people and they're maybe having a rough morning, or I walk around and everyone's oog, and I'm like, I just want to interact with people. Like those are the moments that I dislike the most. But who wants to talk about those? I want to talk about when I managed to. Ooh, this is a good one. Dimitri and Torvalis were up in the woods, and we were fighting a spider. And the spider was using interesting guerrilla tactics, and it was webbing one of us and then fighting the other one. And at some point in time, Rin came up, and Rin is played by just this. I think that she's played by just one of the sweetest of girls. Like,
The coolest person ever, honestly.
yeah, I mean, like, just she comes across as such like a cinnamon bun. I just love her. I met her that game. I talked to her for maybe 90 seconds, and then she comes up the hill, and both Dimitri and Travalis get webbed, and we're like, "Run, Rin! Like the spider's coming!" And Rin's like, "But where?" And suddenly Rob jumps out from nowhere because he can do that. If you think you're safe, you're not safe. Um, so Rob jumps out from nowhere and attacks and downs Rin. Um, Torvalis comes up and gets free somehow, and with fire, I melt your the webbing. So we both we're rushing down to save Rin, and I don't know if Torvalis got hit by anything, but Rob turns and makes a call, and he goes, "Just so you know, you are burning until you get your clothes off." And in my head, like, I don't really know if this is how it would work, but I'm like, well, if I'm burning until I get my clothes off, this seems like it's a bypass burning. Um, and we have this thing in our game, and it's called describe action, and it's useful for anytime you're trying. I don't want to drag you across sharp rocks. I'll describe action drag you, or I'm not going to strip my clothes off in front of my friends. I'm going to describe action remove my clothes. Oh, no, well, my brain was so panicked at the moment that I just reached down, grab every layer of my like shirts and vest and armor, and rip them all off. My glasses go flying somewhere else. I pause. I score off straight against Rob. I point at him and I go, "I'm not taking off my pants." I wait another moment and then I jump down a small hill and start wailing on the spider. And I don't know if that spider had 5 HP or 50 left. I like to think that Rob just kind of went, "You know what? That's dedication." It just flipped. The spider flips over dead, and there I am. I'm victorious, and I look down at this girl that I have spent 90 seconds talking to, and I'm only wearing pajama pants and a set of boots. I'm like, "Oh, hi. Uh, this is awkward."
I'm Dimitri.
Yeah, I'm Dimitri. I think you're unconscious. I don't know. Let me just, can I bandage you up? Okay, good. Can someone else get up here? I gotta go get dressed and hide.
And your glasses are gone, so I'm sure it's very difficult to see where everything is.
Yes. Those are my favorite moments, like full with RP. Some of the smaller ones, Dimitri during the October event when the players got turned against each other. We fought. I ended up fighting Jaya, and through a large amount of luck, downed Jaya. And then I fought a certain Asher and Rudy, who. And it's about I think it's about 90 seconds after everything went down because Jaya hit me with avoid kills, and they just look up and go, "Dimitri, how many levels of strong will do you have?" And I just go, "You're right." They just flop over dead on the ground. But I fought a champion, and I went even with them, and that was a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, that's no easy feat.
Yes, it will never happen again because, frankly, I just caught the player by surprise, I think, and they weren't able to figure it was a fight and flight response that they were like, "Oh no, this is a dark alley. He literally jumped out of bushes and now he's just swinging at me. I tried to kill him with void kills and he just shrugged it off. I need to retreat and regroup and figure the things out." Next time, I'm pretty sure I would just get blasted.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Jaya was wrecking house that game, so anybody who went up against her and stood their ground definitely deserves a pat on the back.
Yes. I picked when. You said their name before. Alex. He was playing Nero. I managed to pickpocket a dagger from his sheath, which I wanted to. He was just showboating or soapboxing, and "I'm Nero, I'm so awesome, haha, look at me." And I think it was because he was so overconfident. He was letting people be very close to him because whatever. I think the last person to touch him was Datora, who had their spine ripped out through their mouth or something. It was quite disturbing. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to try to make this character a little less threatening, but there's no in-game skill of "I pickpocket you." So I had to literally.
Oh no, you just literally have to pickpocket.
Yeah, I had to sneak up on him and slowly reach my hand over and grab and just I'm playing Jenga, just slowly pull it out without him trying to notice. And I got one dagger, and I went for the second, and I realized I'm not going to be able to get that one. Whatever, one is great. I just screw you, Nero, and I ran off to Cast Cabin and I deposited the dagger there. Um, and I totally forgot to. Well, I would have tag requested that, but I was told afterwards that it should have vamped back. It just was, Alex didn't know that I pickpocketed him, so he wasn't able to give me that action. But it was also really cool to do. Like, hey, this is something I can do in real life that I have no in-game skills for, and it's working. It's working, and it was a lot of fun.
That's I mean, I know Asher definitely has a best moment with Dimitri as well
Ooh,
during the pumpkin brawl.
is this the one where you almost took my head off?
I think so. I'm not quite, it was very dark, so I'm not quite sure what happened, but if you would allow me to tell you one of my best moments with Dimitri, I would love to.
Please.
It was, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story on the podcast before, but it was myself, Krond, and Jaya, and we were sneaking through the woods trying to get to the Earth Circle with to go grab their pumpkin, and we heard someone rustling through the woods, and it was pitch black. We couldn't see anything, but I knocked an arrow, and I got it ready, and I didn't know it was you at the time, but you had just made a very slight move in the bushes, and I shot, and I heard it hit your shield, and you ran out of the woods like a bat out of hell. Like, you just gunned it. Like, I would not be able to hit you again even if I had another arrow ready. But you just gunned it out of the woods. And I didn't know what happened, but I was like, oh my gosh, like, whoever that was, like, they're getting my player award. Like, obviously they were, very agile, like, very quick on their feet or whatever. And then the next day you were like, oh my gosh, do you remember when this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was you. And we were both just very like, oh, that was great. So that was like, you got my my player award vote for that one, my fighting spirit vote for that game.
Thank
in that
you.
moment. That was very cool.
Ooh.
You were the fact that you had the wherewithal to, or I don't even know if you even like put your shield up or if I just accidentally hit it. I don't know what happened.
Oh, can I tell the story from my perspective?
Absolutely.
So, I think at that point in time, people were wearing wristbands. They were the targets that we needed to hunt down. Earth Circle was operating guerrilla warfare style. We didn't have the combat strength to take on some of the other ones, so we separated up into 1 to 2 man teams and tried to do our best. I got intel from Taka, who I think was Taka. Anyways, that I think Carduin was supposed to be up in that area, just past the fairy circle. So I went sneaking through the woods to find them, and I heard I heard presumably Carduin there. So I got low and I got quiet and I waited. And if you're waiting in the woods in the nighttime, every minute feels like 3 or 5. It feels like forever. So after about 3 minutes, I'm like, I haven't heard them. Maybe they're gone. So I get up and I start walking, and I know I'm making a bit of noise. And then I look over and I see a light. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. So there's a fire mage over there. Okay. So I've already made some noise, and I crouch down and I start contemplating what I'm gonna do. Okay, it's Carduin and a fire mage. And eventually I go, well, they know I'm here now. I gotta go after them. I'm going to start advancing down. There's a path I could see, just barely through the woods, and I'm going to make a lot of noise once I get up to the trees. But I'll put my shield in front of me beforehand, and I advance. And the first sound that they give, like, oh, someone's coming, or what was that? I'm going to rush in and I'll go for the mage first, and then I'll take out Carduin and I'll get him. It's going to be great. And I put up my shield and I start advancing to this path. I get like 2, maybe 3 steps. And suddenly, this arrow comes flying, smacks the top of my shield, spins, like the haft of the arrow smacks me on the head, and it goes bouncing backwards. And my brain just goes, Archer? What? Run! I don't. I'm so glad I didn't rush in to fight Krond and 2 champions, but like I had it all planned out in my head, and I'm like, Archer? No, this is wrong. I need to be gone.
That must have shot through your head like in a split second, because you were gone. Like, you were just like, nope, and you just got the fuck out of there.
Pretty much. I had a list of things to expect. Had it been like, I would have had a similar response to, I see Graham swinging for me, but it was just like, because I know the weapons that Carduin wields, and I'm like, okay, this mage, I don't know, like every mage kind of carries a weapon more or less, but I was expecting a mana packet to hit me. Um,
Right.
I was not expecting an arrow, and this just went like, nope, plan's gone, run.
It was, yeah, that was one of my favorite moments at that game. That was a good one. I know you said you didn't want to, or you don't like to talk about them as much, but do you have like a worst moment that you've had at game that you want to share?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess like uh, all my worst moments, I actually enjoy them. My first game, I set up I just set up a hooch. I just took a tarp, I put it on like a 45-degree angle, keep out of the wind and the rain, tucked my stuff under, and that was where I slept for the game. And I found out that bumblebees live underground because the their entrance to the hole was literally an inch and a half from my pillow.
Oh my gosh.
Um, like you could say that was a worst moment, but now it's this wonderful story. Like anything that it doesn't matter how
It's
good or bad.
iconic. It's an iconic fact of game now.
Oh yeah, it's the only time that I ever had to go oog to sleep because when that happened, when I found it, the bumblebees there, I just got in my sleeping bag and rolled out of my shelter, and I'm just lying in the middle of the path up past the Earth Circle. I put a stick in the ground and I hang my oog headband off it because I don't want to deal with this. And I'm fine sleeping in character. Rob almost killed me my first game because I was sleeping in character. But yeah, the bumblebees, I was like, ugh. But now it's this great story. So even though it might have been a worse moment, I really enjoy just recounting it because it was an experience.
So like what's Dimitri's motivation right now in town? Like what keeps him going? What's he going to get up to this season? God willing we have a game. What's Dimitri's plan right now?
Well, Dimitri, he came to hold fast. Like he wants the world's big, the world's crazy. His father. Um, he's kind of actually based off of like the Swiss mercenaries. The eldest son gets the farm, and then the younger ones would become mercenaries to get enough money to get a farm. Uh, so he's out to kind of make his own life, and he needs to establish himself. He needs to get a little stronger, a little smarter, make a little bit more money. He ended up in Holdfast, and now he's starting to realize, hey, well, maybe I need to also grow my personality a little bit. So he's going for counsel. He wants to see how he can help other people because he started with the hands-off approach, but now it's like maybe maybe by learning how to help these people, I can like maybe I'm going to be able to figure out how to be a mayor or in the future of somewhere else, or be a father, like learn these things. So really, it's just a life journey for Dimitri, and he's helping people out along the way. One of the things though that he's not fond of is poison. He can't figure. He's like poison is just terrifying. It's just one of those things that like absolutely wreck you. It doesn't matter how strong you are. So I'm hoping in the season or the season after to come to start doing some investigation into to monsters that have poison. And just I doubt anything will really come of it, but it will be some interesting RP of Dimitri tries to science, and it could turn out from anything to wow, Dimitri, that's actually insightful, to Dimitri, that's it's basically a tinfoil hat on your head. I don't think it's going to do anything.
Cool. Great. Does Dimitri have a best friend?
Um, okay, yes, Dimitri's best friend. This actually gets a little difficult to break down. Dimitri's best friend is probably Caradwin. Dimitri's first friend was Lexicus because Saturday morning of Lexicus' first game, Dimitri saved Lexicus for what would have been his first death. Like 5 hours into game, he almost died. But he goes around and meeting just people, and some friends are closer than others. He likes to consider almost everyone his friend. The player who plays Caradwin, it started off we were both new players, and it was like, hey, let's just help each other survive, more or less. Um, and we started talking more about LARP, and then because we were talking about all this stuff, we became out of game friends. And I used to tease him a lot about it because Caradwin would be like, yeah, like I'm glad we became buddies, and I'm like, I don't know, I think you're more my like real life bleed. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, Dimitri became your character's friend, so now I think it's bleeding over into my real life. And I used to tease him about that for like, I don't know, a month or a half, and then finally I was like, no, you're my friend. Like, I'm just kidding.
Cute. And finally, What are your greatest wishes for your character? Where in the long term would you like to see Dimitri end up? Or, if you had a monkey's paw, what would you do with it? Like, what are your greatest wishes and hopes for Dimitri?
Um, okay. I want um I want all the friends, all the good, everything Dimitri has done. Um I want there to be an instance where it's just all for naught. The entire town, everyone turns against Dimitri. All his efforts are tossed aside, and they basically shun him as the pariah.
Oh
Uh,
no.
and I just want to see how he deals with that. Like in my ideal 100% good ending is Dimitri's able to just smile and say that he's going to keep the memories of those people in his heart forever, and he'll miss them, and to walk away. But I mean, A, I don't know if Dimitri could do that. That's going to involve a lot of character growth. B, ooh, I can't even imagine what would cause such an instance. But that's that I don't know. We're talking game eight or season eight Game of Thrones type deal. I don't know how we're gonna get there. I don't know what roads we're gonna take, if we'll ever find our way. If we're just say Game of Thrones ended after season seven,
Damn, that's deep. I was not expecting that.
Dimitri's just oh for anyone who has interest in developing a character, one of my favorite pieces of advice is from Taliesin Jaffe. Um, he's like a producer, screenwriter, most known for Critical Role. He plays one of the characters on there, and he said, when you're coming up with a character, have a question, and it's best if it's a question that you yourself do not know an answer to, and explore it. And for Dimitri, I like Ian. Um, I like to have like if I would have a character that would have psychic one, awareness one. I need to have all the bases covered normally. Dimitri, not the case. His it's more about getting on with kindness, helping people out, and what will happen. He has no insurance policy. If people turn against him, or if people aren't willing to help him out when he needs it, he won't have anything. But I'm just really curious how just being a good person, how far that will get you. Um, so that's kind of where he's the direction I've been bringing him and trying to explore that, just not only as a character but as a individual. Because every time I do something, I'm like, man, if I had spent XP on this, or if I had put some money into that, or some XP into income, I could have bought more armor or a better sword. I could be doing better. I could see that ghost that's about to come over and wreck me. But as Dimitri, he has to rely on everyone else, because he doesn't have magic. He doesn't have psychic. He just is a basic farm guy who knows how to use his sword and shield, goes around helping people, and goes to the woods, picks up a couple of things, and gives it to his friends. Like, there's, it's, it's interesting because at any point in time, Dimitri can just be destroyed. There's no, I have tricks in my pocket. It's just I have friends, and that's, I suppose, Dimitri's greatest strength and weakness. Please don't use it against him.
Well, I mean, Dimitri is really just ultimate good guy, so I look forward to seeing what happens that could ever cause him to be a pariah or kicked out of town or banished or anything like that.
I don't even know what I'd have to come up with another character, and that would be an interesting journey as well.
All right, so I'm gonna clue us up. Is there anything else you want me to ask, or any other things you want to say that you haven't covered?
Um, no, I mean there's so many things, and I would talk for so long on them. But I know this episode's gone on for a little bit. I was really happy to be asked. Eric, I really enjoy the content that you put out. It's part of my like LARP. I have the podcast and the videos, and when I'm in a real LARP mood, I'll just put them on, and I will listen to episode one, work my way through. Over a span of a week or so, I put on the lore videos that our cast are putting out, and it helps me kind of revisit the world of Holdfast, because we're all kind of hoped to be there already, and sometimes that like 8, 6, 7 month hiatus can feel like forever. So this is the content that and I really enjoy. And I encourage anyone else to kind of put out their own similar stuff. I encourage in-game RP on the forums or on Discord. I think it's just a really great way to Holdfast doesn't have to stay over in Camp Makawak or wherever it is. Holdfast, Holdfast can it can we can just kind of keep it just as part of our social group, like as part of our LARP group, and I really like that. And I wanted to end off on that really feel good moment, but I heard the funniest thing ever the other day, and I have to kind of give props to it. Going back to when Dimitri was getting hugged. Basically, I was standing there like an off-brand Pokemon, just Dimitri, Dimitri. I thought that was the funniest thing I've heard all week. And it's
Listen, I can't wait to hear who this person was that hugged you. But yeah, thank you for the compliment though. I really do appreciate it because I often feel like I just don't have the time to give to the podcast that I really want to. And I don't have, the skills or the wherewithal to, make a podcast as great as it could be. So whenever I hear that people go back and listen to old episodes or that, they look forward to episodes or anything at all, it just, it means a lot to me because as much as this is just kind of like a side project or a hobby that I do in my spare time, it's something that, it makes me very happy and it makes me happy to make others happy. So thank you so much for the compliment. We really appreciate it over here. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Ian, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love having chats with you. But yeah, thank you all for joining us so much. I think next episode is going to be Mitch, who's going to be talking about Hugo, so you can look forward to that. Again, Ian, thank you so much. I will see you at game.
I'll see you at game, Erica.
And everyone out there, we will see you at game. So enjoy your evening and goodbye.